Howdy, everybody. Welcome back to another story time. This one's not what I would call super exciting, action packed, or anything like that. It's actually a kind of a sad story, to be honest with you. Uh, when I first moved down here to Florida, I coached at my first year down here. I coached at Estero High School. They were like at the cellar of the football world. They were terrible. But where I moved to was right across the street, literally right across the street. So I figured, hey, let me see if I can contribute. And then the only way to go is up because they're already at the bottom. And when I came from Virginia, JV football was a big deal. And so when I came down here, it was so funny. I totally forgot I was wearing this shirt. I go to interview with, I just kind of show up randomly. I didn't even have like a scheduled interview, but I was wearing a black shirt with, I think our colors were black and red, and it said Bath County football or something like that. So the football coach at the time, he was real, kind of like redneck, to say it so to speak. And he was from West Virginia, which is right near Bath County, Virginia. And as I'm approaching him, he happens to say something to me about Bath County. And I was like, what? You know Bath County? Because there's not only one Bath County in United States. There's several that I know of. He said, yeah. He goes, I'm from Greenbrier area or something like that. It was some area not too far away. Excuse me. So we kind of get to talking, and it seemed like a cool way to, break the ice, so to speak. And it wasn't even a planned thing. I kind of forgot I had it on, or I don't think it was anything intentional because I didn't think anybody was. Bath County High School had the entire high school had like 252 people in it, but we were a tremendous team. We went to the state championship. We were undefeated until the state championship, but. So we kind of get talking. So I'm correlating everything in Florida to my experience in Virginia. So I said, hey, I told him what positions I coach. I'm kind of like special teams and mostly offense, stuff like that. So I said I'd really like to run your JV program. He says, all right, yeah, no problem. That was lie number one. So we'll come to find out in Florida, because the enrollment at these high schools is really big. So you pretty much your two nucleuses of your football population is your freshman football team and your varsity. So the JV team is like the afterthought. It's nobody really cares about it. Should I say at that time that's the thought process of that coach. And he was not a good football coach. He was kind of nice at times, but he did a lot of shady stuff on the backside that I never really liked. But I'm not here to talk about all that, but just trying to give you an understanding of what happened. So I'm going through all football camp, doing all this off-season, spring football. Now we're getting to the season. I'm doing all this groundwork. Trust an assistant football coach in the state of Florida, even a head football coach in the state of Florida, gets paid very, very poorly. I mean, because you work all year long, and I think a head coach might make $4,000 or something. Assistant coach with the spring stipend, and the thing was like, I don't even think you made $3,000. It was somewhere in that ballpark. The only schools that would pay better would be like private institutions. So that's why so many really good football coaches in Florida leave to go to Georgia, Texas, California, Some of these other states that really pay well, very well. Some of these states like pay, like college football coaches. It's crazy. But so I literally have 13 kids on the JV roster, and they never allowed me to practice one day as a team. Not one day. That's not an exaggeration. So I'm like, oh Lord. So now I'm thinking, what did I get myself into? So when it comes to football and the kids, I don't believe in quitting. You don't quit mid-season. Unless it's like a major fisticuff with the head coach or something. But so now, like literally like days before we're supposed to play our first JV game with zero practice as a team, they're talking about canceling the JV season. I'm like, it was my stipulation to coach this team. It's the reason I'm here on this staff, to make young men better for the varsity level. That's why I came here. So I ended up griping to the athletic director, and I said, this is total BS. Because I could have coached the freshman team, which had like 55 kids, and could have made a huge impact on the kids. But I already committed to the freshman program. So they kind of pulled that away from me. So they had that freshman team was so mismanaged. I mean, with 55 players, you should have won a lot of games. And it was like, I don't want to go on that tangent. Maybe we'll come back to that another day. But so now I'm like, all right. So I've got 13 kids. We're going out to play a really, really good, traditionally inner city school. And I've got 13 kids. I may have 3 potential football players out of 13. So I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a slaughter. So we go out. We're on the road, and this is just unbelievable. So like we're getting spanked. We are getting spanked. I'm real like organized. I got my play calls, kind of like the NFL has, third down, you run this, you can run this, So I'm really detail oriented, but like none of these kids have played together. It's like you can't get mad at the kids. And basically everybody, minus those 3 players, they gave me were not athletes. Am I saying that politely? So I got 3 potential ballers, and the rest, I'm like, oh Lord, this is going to be a long night. So we're getting whipped at halftime. It was like 35-0, and that was with them if they're like their second and third string in there. So I'm like, oh Lord. So I'm in the end zone, and I'm just looking at my play sheet, and one of the parents came over. This parent was really nice. So he went over to the concession stand and bought 13 Gatorades. And I think we may have had a couple bottles of water. But I'm looking at my play calling sheet, just hoping for Lord, just give me one play that works, so we can get something positive tonight. Here goes the helicopter. I apologize. You never know what you're going to get out of here in Bonita Springs. But so I'm really focused. And this one kid named Mark, this whole video pertains to him because it's funny, it's sad, mostly sad. But I keep hearing this one player kept saying, Coach, Coach, Coach. And I'm like, what, Mark? What? So I'm looking. So like I'm really trying to be focused. And he says, I got to pee. And I kid you not, from where he was laying in the back of the end zone to the restrooms was 40 yards away. All you have to do is walk through a chain link gate. There you are. You're in. You go do your business. And then I hear him go, ah. And I'm like, no way. I'm like, this is not happening. I'm thinking like, because he had that lime green Gatorade, and I'm thinking like he poured it on his crotch to be funny? Oh no. Doing number one in the back of the end zone, and this is one of my ballers, my potential ballers out of 13. Oh, I'm like, oh man, I'm thinking this is going to be a real long season. So I'm like, Mark, what the hell are you doing? He goes, I know, coach, I just had to go. I'm like, oh man. So he plays the second half wet. We get the final score was like, I don't know, something. It was like 50 something to nothing. They felt sorry for us after a while because, and it was just so. Moving forward, I always tried to look out for this kid, Mark, because he was from a broken household. I'm not sure what happened to his parents. I think one of his parents was had a drug problem. I'm not sure which one. I think the mother did, and then the father, something happened. I don't know. He became basically this kid, Mark, and his younger brother were being raised by their grandmother, who was a heavyset lady, a chain smoker who had emphysema. So when he was in high school, his grandmother, who was basically like his mother figure, she was on the road to checkout. She was, she was pretty much in the checkout lane. And but the one thing I really liked about Mark was he got into the ROTC program, and I'm thinking, all right, this could be his salvation. This could be his ticket to normalcy, So he was really dedicated to that. At times he had a real short fuse, and I'm sure a lot of people in that environment would also. But so I'm trying to look out for him. So I always try to do little extra things for him. It was the most embarrassing thing for me as a coach. It should have been a really embarrassing thing for him, and all the other players just seemed to accept it, like, oh, well, that's just Mark, whatever. And then I remember years later, I kind of lost touch with him, and I remember reading in the paper, this, mind you, when I coached this young man, it was 2004, something like that. And then, handful of years later, he gets mixed up with I think it is two cousins. I don't know, they carjacked somebody, they stole a car and all this stupid stuff. They had a small chase in Collier County. They get arrested. He goes to jail. So now he's starting his criminal life off on the wrong path. And then I would follow him when he got out, like on Facebook, and then I try to reach out to him from time to time, like try and be a positive role model, but he kept falling back into the bad crowds. So he's been in and out of jail so many times for violence, drug offenses. Most of his violence, I would say probably all of his offenses, when he was under the influence of drugs and or alcohol. So he would do some really stupid stuff. And so he gets very dramatic on Facebook, and lately he's always up and down, and you can tell it's probably like somewhat induced, and like, I don't know, he just does all this crazy stuff. So today was the day that he was supposedly catching a bus to Tennessee to go to rehab for a year. And then he posts a video thanking his certain relatives. They're probably the ones who are paying for his bus ticket to go to Tennessee. I think a bus ticket from here to Tennessee is probably going to be a long time, like 24 hours or so, because they make periodic stops, change drivers, or whatever it is. But so he's kind of gone down this road a little bit, but never gone this far away. So a couple of nights, last night and the night before, supposedly he was staying in like a homeless shelter, and then find out today he was living in the neighborhood I used to live in. I don't know. He's sometimes all over the board, but you really hope and pray that this young man can finally get his life together. I don't know whatever happened to his brother. I know his parent figure, his grandmother, she finally passed away many, many years ago. but it's like sometimes I just want to reach out to them. And I had an old Ford Escape. I remember a couple of years back, he was really, really needing a vehicle. And I said, you know what, I'm going to do a good deed. I'm going to give this to him. And I reached out to him a couple times and said, hey, I really want to talk to you about something. And he kept putting me off. So I realized here, I'm trying to do a good deed for him, but he's putting me off. And all I've ever tried to do was help him out. And the vehicle needed a little bit of work, but if he had some mechanical friends, it could have been a good thing for him. He never did get the vehicle because he kept blowing me off. And I wasn't going to beg him to listen to me. Sometimes you have to listen to people. Sometimes people are reaching out to try and help you. So I see a post from earlier today about when I watched it about an hour ago. He had posted it 6 hours prior. So he didn't have a ride to get out to the main roadway to catch this bus, catch it to Tennessee, but he was asking for a ride. Nobody commented. He's always on there making things, and most people comment. Most people are working during the day, don't have time to comment. So then, an hour later, he's posting. That's when he did that video thanking everybody. And I don't know. He could be on his way to Tennessee tonight. It would definitely be the best thing for him. Can he get there, and stay clean on the way? It's up to him, but it breaks your heart when you try and help somebody, and sometimes you just can't help people. So I was thinking deep and hard, what kind of story time can I do next? And this just kind of was a spontaneous thing based on what I saw here on Facebook. So, let's call him Mark C. That's all I'm going to say. And, I know he's going to get lonely, miss his old posse and everything. That's the worst thing you can do is get reunited with his old friends, because a lot of those folks were trouble. So eventually he'll learn that. Hopefully, if he goes to a real good rehab program, it seems to me like a 1-year rehab. I don't know if he's inflating that or what, because sometimes he does you never know what you're going to get. But it seems like a 1-year rehab. If somebody's paying for that, that's outstanding. But I don't know where, I don't know where money's coming from, or social services will actually pay for something that long. Are they going to discharge him in 60 days, 90 days, or whatever? But I guess the good thing is he has a history of being like a contractor or a roofer and all that. So even if he does get released in 90 days or, I don't see him being in there for a year, to be honest with you. That's what he's saying, telling everybody. But maybe he can get back into the roofing game and, down there in Tennessee and make some money. I don't know. Anyway, that's it. Boring story time. It breaks your heart when you try to help somebody and they're still not helping themselves. It's their product, their own environment sometimes. I'm not saying that's a positive thing or a negative thing sometimes. It's just reality in life. So remember, folks, always try to help somebody when you can. And remember, always know your legal limits. Peace out.